The North American trade landscape has erupted into a battleground, as tensions between the United States and Canada reach levels not seen in decades. What began as a policy dispute has now escalated into a full-blown trade war, with both sides digging in their heels and preparing for a prolonged standoff. The U.S. has imposed steep tariffs on autos, steel, and aluminum from its closest allies, citing national security concerns and the need to protect American jobs. These sweeping measures have sent shockwaves through industries that rely on cross-border cooperation and open markets. Canada, refusing to back down, has launched a calculated counter-offensive. Determined to defend its interests, the Canadian government has made it clear that it will not be bullied into submission. Ottawa announced retaliatory tariffs, including a 25% duty on non-USMCA compliant vehicles, targeting American automakers and sending a strong message to Washington. In addition, Canada slapped tariffs on $21 billion worth of American steel and aluminum imports, directly hitting the heart of U.S. manufacturing and export industries. These measures are not just symbolic, they are designed to inflict real economic pain, targeting the very industries the U.S. sought to protect. Canada's resolve to defend its economic sovereignty has never been clearer. Canadian officials had warned that unilateral tariffs would disrupt deeply intertwined supply chains, and now, those warnings have become reality. Factories on both sides of the border are feeling the strain, as parts and products are delayed or rerouted. The tit-for-tat escalation places the entire North American economic bloc in jeopardy, especially the automotive sector, which depends on seamless trade and just-in-time delivery. The very foundation of the USMCA is being tested as Canada braces for short-term pain to resist American protectionism. Workers, businesses, and communities across the continent are left wondering what the future holds. This bold stand sets the stage for a protracted conflict that could reshape manufacturing and trade across the continent, forcing companies to rethink supply chains and investment strategies. The era of seamless North American trade is over, replaced by uncertainty and confrontation. As both nations brace for the economic fallout, the world watches to see who will blink first in this high-stakes standoff. The U.S. tariffs are part of a broader push to reshore manufacturing and protect domestic industries. In recent years, American policymakers have grown increasingly concerned about the nation's reliance on foreign supply chains, especially for critical goods like automobiles, steel, and aluminum. The goal is to bring jobs back home, revive local economies, and reduce vulnerabilities exposed by global disruptions. The Trump administration's America First policy blames decades of globalism for hollowing out the nation's industrial core. Once thriving manufacturing towns across the Midwest now struggle with unemployment and economic decline, fueling a sense of urgency to reverse the trend. A 25% tariff now applies to autos, steel, and aluminum, aiming to force companies to relocate operations to American soil. By making imported goods more expensive, the administration hopes to incentivize both U.S. and foreign firms to invest in domestic production facilities, creating new jobs and boosting local industries. The administration's most controversial move, a 25% tariff on non-U.S. content in vehicles from Canada and Mexico, even if they meet USMCA rules, has sent shockwaves through the auto industry. This policy targets the complex web of cross-border manufacturing that has defined North American trade for decades. Officially, these tariffs are justified by national security concerns, arguing that domestic steel, aluminum, and now autos are vital for defense. The administration claims that a strong industrial base is essential for military readiness and national resilience in times of crisis. Critics, including industry experts, dispute these claims, warning of severe disruption to cross-border supply chains. They argue that tariffs could raise costs for American manufacturers, threaten jobs, and make U.S. products less competitive globally. The administration is betting that trading partners will suffer more than the U.S., forcing them to concede. By leveraging America's massive consumer market, officials hope to extract better terms in future trade negotiations and reshape the rules of commerce. But this aggressive stance has triggered retaliation, creating deep uncertainty for the very industries it aims to protect. Workers, business owners, and local communities now face an unpredictable future as global supply chains are thrown into turmoil and new trade barriers emerge. the gamble to rewrite North American trade rules has ignited a firestorm with unpredictable consequences. As the world watches, the outcome of America's trade war experiment will shape the future of manufacturing, jobs, and economic power across the continent. The North American auto industry is not just a collection of factories, but a single integrated ecosystem that stretches across borders and generations. This remarkable network has been built over more than a century of cross-border collaboration, innovation, and shared ambition between the United States, Canada, and Mexico. Every day, vehicles are assembled from thousands of parts that cross the US-Canada border multiple times, weaving a complex tapestry of manufacturing and logistics that few other industries can match. For example, an engine block might be cast in the US, shipped to Canada for precision machining, and then returned for final assembly. This process is repeated for thousands of components, each step adding value and expertise from different regions. The scale of this partnership is staggering. Automotive trade between the US and Canada alone is worth $160 billion annually, supporting countless businesses and communities on both sides of the border. But this finely tuned system is vulnerable. Tariffs and new trade barriers disrupt the flow, adding costs and delays every time a part crosses the border, no matter how small or essential. What was once a model of efficiency can quickly become a logistical nightmare, forcing automakers to either untangle deeply interconnected supply chains or absorb massive, unexpected expenses that threaten their competitiveness. The Detroit Big Three, Ford, GM, and Stellantis, and millions of jobs across North America depend on this seamless integration, from factory workers to engineers and suppliers. New trade barriers threaten not just corporate profits but the livelihoods of workers and families in all three countries, putting entire communities at risk. The industry's true strength lies in its continental integration, where expertise, resources, and labor flow freely across borders. Tariffs risk weakening this entire structure, undermining decades of progress. By targeting this system, the trade war endangers the very foundation of North American manufacturing, threatening to unravel a century of shared prosperity and innovation. The trade war's immediate impact is a sharp rise in manufacturing costs for American automakers. Tariffs on Canadian steel, aluminum, and parts drive up expenses for companies like GM, Ford, Stellantis, and Tesla. These costs are passed to consumers, making new vehicles thousands of dollars more expensive. Higher prices mean fewer sales, pushing buyers to delay purchases or opt for used cars. A slump in sales threatens jobs across the industry, from assembly lines to dealerships. The very workers' tariffs were meant to protect now face layoffs and reduce shifts. Retaliatory Canadian tariffs make US-built cars pricier in Canada, slashing exports. Projections suggest US auto exports to Canada could fall by over 50% under full retaliation. Automakers are squeezed by higher costs at home and shrinking export markets. The double blow threatens the long-term viability of American auto manufacturing. 11. The trade war casts a shadow over the electric vehicle transition, a key pillar of future growth and climate policy. EVs rely on global supply chains for minerals and specialized components, many now subject to tariffs. Higher costs threaten to slow EV adoption, making them less affordable for consumers. Meanwhile, Canada is attracting billions in EV investment, offering stability and global market access. Automakers may shift projects north, leaving the US behind in the race for EV leadership. Protectionist policies risk offshoring the industries of the future. The USMCA was meant to modernize and stabilize North American trade, but it's now at the heart of the conflict. Stricter rules of origin and labor value content were designed to strengthen regional supply chains and protect higher-wage jobs. The new U.S. tariff on non-U.S. content in Canadian and Mexican autos undermines these rules, penalizing partners even when they comply. This destabilizes the pact and erodes trust, just as the 2026 review approaches. If unresolved, the dispute could lead to the dissolution of the agreement, a catastrophic outcome for the continent. The USMCA's future hangs in the balance, threatened by unilateral actions and eroding cooperation. 7. A major driver of trade friction is the fear of China using Canada and Mexico as backdoors into the US market. The US and its partners have imposed steep tariffs on Chinese goods and tightened investment screening to block circumvention. Canada and Mexico have mirrored U.S. tariffs and strengthened their own trade defenses. This united front aims to prevent Chinese products from undermining North American industries. Yet, internal disputes between the U.S. and Canada threaten this cooperation. To counter external threats, North America must resolve its internal trade battles and present a united front. 7. This trade war isn't just about policy. It hits home for millions across North America. Expect higher car prices, whether imported or domestic, as tariffs ripple through the market. Job security is at risk, with layoffs looming across the auto industry and its vast supply chain. Investment and innovation may shift overseas as automakers seek stability elsewhere. The promise of protecting jobs could backfire, leading to fewer opportunities and greater economic anxiety. Ultimately, this fight tests the partnership that has defined North America for generations. The outcome will shape prices, jobs, and the continent's future competitiveness. 8.